Okay, keeping in mind that sine and cosine fall between -1 and 1, let's look at some equations that are a little different. Okay, in example 5, I have 2 sine theta minus 1 equals 0. And I want to solve this. I want to find out what is theta. Well, I need to get sine theta by itself. So I'm going to add the 1 to the other side. Then I will divide by the 2. And I get sine theta equals 1/2. And I just want to know what angle has a sine of 1/2. Okay. And you can tell me pi over 6. I'm not going to, WebAssign is probably going to want you to put this little notation outside it. That's just to remind you that every 2 pi degrees you go around, you get another angle at that same place. Okay, you don't have to do that on your test. And 5 pi over 6 also gives you a positive 1/2. Or once again, you can give me the degrees. Okay, but in WebAssign, you need to give it to them in the way that they ask you to give it to them. Right? What if it was a quadratic type of trig equation? Okay, so let's write this one out. So I have 2 cosine squared theta minus 7 cosine theta plus 3 equals 0. Okay, now, some people can't see that this is a trig or that it's a quadratic equation because the trig functions are in the way, and they look at it and, they freak out. So this is what I suggest doing if that's the case for you. If you don't have to do this, that is a-okay. Pick any letter. X is my favorite. Okay, let cosine theta equal x. Everywhere there's a cosine theta, replace it. Scan out so you can see this. Everywhere there's a cosine theta, replace it with x, just temporarily. Okay, to kind of trick your brain into not even worrying about the fact that this is trig. Now it looks like algebra. Okay, now I want to solve this thing. If I can factor it, if I remember how to factor, I'm going to factor it. If I don't remember how to factor it, I'm going to do the quadratic formula, but I would suggest factoring it. So I've got 2x and x are the only values that multiply together to give 2x squared. And I've got 3 and 1 multiply together to give 3. If I put the 3 here and the 1 here, remember this is full. Okay, if I check my inside terms and my outside terms, I should get 7x. So my inside terms give me 1x, my outside terms give me 6x. And I want those to combine to give me -7, which means they both need to be negative. So that's how I know to put minus signs on both of those. Okay, if I put the 3 here and the 1 here, it wouldn't have worked. It would have given me 5, then I would just swap them. All right. Okay, so I don't know if you remember how to solve your quadratic equation after this, but you take each term and set it equal to 0. Take each, because remember this is a product, 0 product property tells us that one of these must be 0. So I set each set of parentheses equal to 0. Then I solve for x. X is 1/2 or x is 3. Okay, and then remember, now I'm not done. I've got to remember, but it wasn't x, it was cosine. So I replace cosine and I say cosine theta is 1/2 or cosine theta is 3. And that's when I remember that cosine has to fall between 1 and -1. So I throw that one away. And it's only this one. So where is cosine 1/2? Well, that's at 60 degrees. It's a positive 1/2. So I find where cosine is positive. And to show you what they did exactly the same thing. They just kept the cosine the whole time. Okay, did exactly the same thing. Right, just kept the cosine the whole time, and you can do that. And then if I want it in radians, it's going to be a pi over 3. So I can do degrees is 60, or I can say it's a pi over 3. And then the other one is going to be 5 pi over 3. And in degrees, that one is going to be 300? Okay, so just make sure you get both angles there.